Top 10 romance anime movies you need to watch in 2022. Romance anime is a go-to genre for almost any anime lover out there. Even if it isn't the central theme of the anime, many stories tend to include a romance between characters in the plot, and are often used to move the story forward. While there are many romance anime series out there, let's take a look at some of the best romance anime movies ever released in history. If you haven't watched these titles yet, I can guarantee you, there are some of the best anime movies out there, especially if you're looking for a loved theme one. On number 10, we have The Garden of Words. Having said it, it's one of the most notable and masterful works of Makoto Shinkai ever produced. The Garden of Words is a director's first attempt at making a romance film using the Japanese definition of the word love. Unlike more modern romance stories, The Garden of Words tries to showcase the feeling of longing and loneliness among the characters in the film. The film focuses on two characters, a 15-year-old student named Takao Akizuki and a 27-year-old woman named Yukara Yukino. Takao has always wanted to become a shoemaker, so he decides to skip his class in the morning and dedicates his time to sketching shoe designs at Shinjuku Gyuuen. Little did he know, he would meet Yukari, a woman more than a decade older than him, who decides to skip her duties. The two eventually bond over shared values and continue to meet each other in the park on rainy mornings. The story focuses on the pair developing relationship. Over the rainy seasons, the two characters have come to rely on each other for encouragement and strength. At the end of the film, it isn't quite clear if the two ended up in a long-distance relationship, but Takao is determined to go after Yukari after he had progress with his job of choice. On number 9, we have Tamako Love Story. Tamako Market was a well-loved anime by Kyoto Animations in 2013. In the anime series, romance wasn't the primary focus, as too many chaotic events happened around Tamako Kitty Shirikawa. In Tamako Love Story, Dira is back on a tropical island miles away from Yusugama shopping district, finally bringing focus to Tamako and Mushizu Uji. After years of friendship, Mushizu had come to terms with his growing romantic feelings towards his childhood friend, Tamako. However, Tamako seems completely oblivious and focuses on her school activities. Mushizu eventually mustered up enough courage to confess to Tamako, but because of the shock of the confession, Tamako is unable to respond properly and spends a good week distracted and unable to confront her childhood friend. It took Midori Tokiwa lying to Tamako to finally have her confess her feelings back to Mushizu at the end of the film. On number 8, we have Doukyuusei Classmates. The yaoi genre in anime seems to be one of the big things in Japan and the rest of the world. So it's no surprise a boys love anime movie is one of the most well-loved romance anime movies out there. The movie follows Hikari Kusakabe, a carefree individual who finally notices his straight-A classmate, Reihito Saju. He first sees that his classmate has trouble singing during practice for the upcoming festival their class will be part in. After catching Reihito practicing alone, he offers to help the honor student sing, and the two develop a strong relationship that eventually sparks a romance. On number 7, we have 5 centimeters per second. Makoto Shinkai is well known for his visually stunning romance anime films, so it's hard to just include one of his outstanding works on the list. His 2007 film, 5 centimeters per second, is told in 3 interconnected segments. It follows Takaki Tuno and his childhood friend Akari Shinohara, who eventually grew to love each other. However, the two are constantly met with challenges, as growing up comes with its own set of responsibilities. The heartbreaking film is yet another Shinkai film that has touched the hearts of many. On number 6, we have The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. As anyone can assume by the title alone, the story is about a girl with the ability to time travel. In the story, a young Makoto Kuno discovers that she has the power to travel back in time after successfully avoiding a life-threatening accident. After discovering her powers, she uses them to make her life easier, such as using it to get perfect grades or being on time for school. However, her abilities do come with limits, and once she is made aware of these limits, she starts using her abilities to try to set things right for people. But unfortunately, she didn't have enough time leaps to save her friends from getting into an accident. Luckily, her friend who confessed that he was in love with her managed to freeze time and rescue them. He tells Makoto that he's actually from the future and has traveled back in time to see a painting that no longer exists in his time. He also tells her if time starts again, he will have to return to the future, and the two of them will no longer be able to meet. At this moment, Makoto realizes that she's in love with him. On number 5, we have Whisper of the Heart. Studio Ghibli Films has never failed to capture the public's heart with their signature art style and Hayao Miyazaki's masterful storytelling. Shizuku Tsukishima is a spirited girl who loves reading books, particularly fairy tales. One day while reading the checkout card of a book she planned to borrow, she notices the name Seiji Amasawa on the book's checkout list. It turns out that Seiji has always borrowed numerous books before her. She eventually meets Seiji multiple times throughout the movie, but the pair never introduced themselves to each other. It isn't until Seiji shows her workshop and they perform a song together that the two are finally introduced to each other. Seiji admits that he has always admired Shizuku and used the books at the library to get her to notice him. Seiji reveals his dream of becoming a luthier and tells Shizuku that he'll be leaving for Italy in 2 months to study violin making. Seiji's determination to pursue his dream inspires Shizuku to try her hand at writing her first novel. After 2 months, Shizuku finally finished her book and Seiji finished a part of his studies. When the two of them meet, Seiji confesses his love for Shizuku and asks her to marry him in the future, which Shizuku's happily accept. On number 4, we have A Silent Voice. A silent voice has been popular in the anime fandom for quite some time. Shoya Ishida and Shoko Nishimiya. Back when the two were in elementary school, Shoya was one of Shoko's bullies, who was a deaf transfer student to their school. Despite having multiple bullies in their class, Shoko singled out Shoya as her only bully when asked by the principal, causing the entire class to direct the bullying towards Shoya instead. This eventually caused the two of them to get into a physical fight that may have caused Shoko's sense of hearing to worsen. She ultimately had to transfer schools, and the two did not see each other for a very long time. Because of Shoya's reputation as a bully, he became a social outcast and spent the majority of his life regretting his action and even contemplating suicide. This is until he decides to make up for his mistakes and finally search for and become friends with Shoko. However, it turns out it isn't only Shoya who wishes to redeem himself. Other characters, including former bullies, come into the picture and start forming bonds with the pair as they work all together to navigate through life. On number 3, Weathering with You. After the success of Shinkai's film Your Name, he decided to make another film called Weathering with You, which took a more supernatural approach than the formal film. A first-year high school student named Hodoka Morishima escapes his town to live in Tokyo alone. He soon realizes being under the age of 18 limits him from getting a job and providing for himself. Then, out of his luck and saving, he runs into Hina Amano, a McDonald's employee, who takes pity on him and serves him food. He eventually finds a job as an assistant to an occult magazine publishing company that focuses on writing articles about legends of the unusual rain in the city. While working, he learns of the tale of the Sunshine Girl, who can clear the skies. After running into Hina again, he learns she can stop the rain and proposes they start doing businesses clearing the sky for special events. However, just like every power, it comes with a cost. Hina later learns that the more she uses her power, the more parts of her body becomes water, and it wouldn't be long before she's entirely disappearing. On number 2, Howl's Moving Castle. The film Howl's Moving Castle is loosely based on the novel of the same name written by Diana Wine. In the film, viewers meet a young millionaire named Sophie, who has a chance encounter with a wizard named Howl. Unfortunately, this encounter causes her to be a target of the Witch of the Waste. The vengeful witch cursed her into becoming an old lady. In search for a way to break the curse, she meets odd characters along the way and ends up in Howl's Moving Castle, where the fire demon Calcifer agrees to break the curse, provided she breaks the link with Howl. The movie shows how destructive words can be on both sides, and also shows the story of how both Howl and Sophie came to learn of love and rely on each other for support during harsh times. On number 1, we have Your Name. If you're an anime fan, you've probably heard of the anime film Your Name or Kimi no wa. However, if you haven't or haven't yet watched this film, this is your cue to watch it. The story follows Mitsuha Miyamizu, a high school girl living in rural parts in Japan. Bored with her everyday life, she wishes to live in Tokyo as a boy in her next life. Unexpectedly, she starts switching bodies with a boy named Taki Tachibana, a young high school boy living in Tokyo. Since the initial switch, the two of them have been waking up as each other in some mornings. The two of them start living each other's life and communicate by leaving messages on paper, phones, or even on each other's skin. While everything seems to be going okay for the pair, they soon realize it's not only distance that sets them apart, but time as well. It also seems like their memories of each other are slowly fading. In a final attempt to remember each other on their final swap, they decided to write each other's names on the other's palm, only to realize that Taki wrote the words "I love you" instead of his name.